I just understand that there's a blocker when we are on camera, when thousands of people are watching you. But it's hard when you ask somebody, what are you struggling with? And they don't want to go to that place.
Yeah.
And if they actually do go to that place, they can transform.
All right, guys. Danny Miranda here. Just retired from podcasting
For the moment.
today, right?
Well, I put the podcast on pause.
Okay.
Yeah, I really started to coach people and do coaching, and I just saw how much more fulfilling that was to the truth of who I am. I mean, when you're on a podcast, there's some performance that's going on.
Right.
If I'm coaching you, you're going to give me the truth of the most difficult thing that happened.
Right.
And I started to see how much more fulfilling that was to me. So.
I could see that because with podcasting is such a wide net. I'm sure we're influencing people with that, but they don't hit us up directly usually, so you can't really see the results.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was you're just presenting an image. This is an image of Sean Kelly, right? This is an image of you, and I'm putting an image of me out there. But what is the truth of my situation? What is the truth of your situation at a deeper level? It's likely that we're going to discuss that if the cameras are off. And that's what I found, and that's what I've enjoyed doing, leading people through the truth of who they are.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
you felt yourself holding back almost on the show?
No, but I just understand that there's a blocker that happens when we are on camera, when thousands of people are watching you. And I try to be as authentic as I possibly can in front of a camera.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you ask somebody, what are you struggling with? And they don't want to go to that place.
Yeah.
And if they actually do go to that place, they can transform. But so that's kind of why I've made the transition.
No, I agree. Because some of the best conversations with my podcast guests have been as soon as we stop filming, or maybe before we start filming.
Yeah, that's right. And so I just try to follow my curiosity. That's how I started doing the podcast, was because I put on Twitter, who wants to talk on the phone? And I had amazing conversations with people, and I was like, I should record these. And so I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you literally tweeted, who wants to just chop it up?
Yep.
Doesn't have to be business related.
September 2020. I was calling people on the phone nonstop. And I was like, I love talking to people on the phone. I love asking questions. Let me record these. And I started to record them, and that turned into the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a planned thing.
No, it wasn't a planned thing. It was life telling me this is what you're supposed to do.
And why do you think you like talking to people?
Because when you talk to someone, you learn about yourself. And we are all just reflections of each other. And the parts that light us up about each other are reflections of us. And the parts of ourselves that we don't like are parts of ourselves that we don't like about ourselves. So when you talk to another person, you get a mirror. And the mirror points to who you truly are.
Interesting. Wow. So you went down a deep spiritual journey, it sounds like.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time meditating, a lot of time. I mean, this is spiritual in nature. If you talk to enough people, it's going to get you to places of, if you're doing it in an honest way.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Joe Rogan's spiritual journey, right? If you look at him in 2009 versus 2024, that is a guy who's embodying much more love.
Right.
And why? I would say in part because a podcast is a spiritual experience.
I think it is. It's opened my eyes. I was atheist before my podcast started, actually.
Wow. What
Yeah.
changed?
The podcast.
Like what specifically?
Just had on certain guests that opened my eyes. And as a host, you kind of have to be open. Like you don't want to be too closed off. So I just let my guests speak. And the more I heard them talk, I was like, all right, let me explore this. And yeah, I would say I'm no longer atheist now.
Were there any particular moments that made you feel most connected to God?
Mainly, I've been looking into purpose right now. And being a podcast host, it's the first time I've done a business where revenue is not the main objective. And I feel really good just in general, like mentally, spiritually, physically. You know, when I was chasing money, my physical health was terrible. Mental health was pretty bad as well, even though I was making a lot of money.
And what do you think you're chasing now?
Purpose, impact. I'm still finding the exact thing, but the more episodes I do, the more I feel like I'm getting close, you know?
Yeah. What do you struggle with the most as a child?
As a child, fitting in, dude.
Fitting in.
Fitting in was tough.
Yep.
Yeah, I was an only child. My parents got divorced, so witnessing that at a young age maybe had some trauma. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/DSH and get on your way becoming your best self. My fiance Ariel plays a big role in my mental health, helping me realize my true potential. Everyone's trying their best around you, so take time to appreciate someone close to you. I've tried therapy in the past, and it helped me go through some tough times when I was in college dealing with mental health. I was on prescription medication. I actually had agoraphobia when I was in college, and therapy helped me figure out some answers to how to fix that problem. For 2 months, I couldn't even leave my house, or I would have a full-on panic attack. So I love companies like BetterHelp that can get therapy in front of the masses. But therapy definitely helped me get better, and I definitely appreciate companies like BetterHelp because it's completely online and it's conveniently suited to fit your schedule and accommodate life surprises. Fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a licensed therapist today with the freedom to switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Visit betterhelp.com/DSH to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DSH. Check them out now. I actually did a brain scan recently and some trauma showed up. But I was bouncing friend groups a lot.
Yeah. And the core belief in that is I don't belong.
Yeah. I was telling myself that daily, trying to pretend to be someone I was not to fit in with people.
Yeah. And it's worth asking, how could that be manifesting today?
Yeah. I think early in my entrepreneur journey, I still had that fire, like, let me prove all these people wrong. That definitely motivated me for years. And I still have a little bit of it. Yeah.
And that's okay. And the thing that we lack the most as a child is actually our greatest gift and what we're supposed to give people. So I don't belong is what you feel as a child. That actually leads to you making yourself feel like you belong within yourself. And then you making other people feel like they belong. And that's, in some sense, what you're doing with this podcast. You're bringing people into the fold, doing over 800 episodes, making them feel like they belong.
Right.
And if you make someone else feel like they belong, you in particular, you're going to get extra fulfillment out of that.
100%. You're right. Because I'll have on some interesting people that maybe they don't have the attention that they want with unique messages. And I try to make them feel like they belong.
And that feels particularly good to you because you're in your purpose. Whenever you are making someone feel like they belong, that's your purpose. That's what you're here to do. What we are all here to do is to resolve the thing that we felt like we lacked as a child and give it to the world.
Wow. That's deep. So you really feel like that's why people are here?
Yes, 100%.
Because a lot of people go through some traumatic stuff in their childhood.
And that is actually their greatest gift once they heal it.
Wow. That's powerful. Some people never heal it, though. I saw it with my father.
That's right. Some people never heal it, and then they get resentful, angry, frustrated, and they take it out on other people or themselves.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have struggles with anger?
No.
It's good. Did you used to, or you feel like you mastered it pretty early?
When I started lifting weights, so what happened to me was I was a senior in high school, and there was a social media account that was a gossip account, and it was anonymous, and the entire school thought it was me. And I was like, this isn't me. I know it's not me.
Why'd they think that?
I guess it was clever. I was on social media a lot. They were like, this is probably Danny. And I was like, this is not me. Like, what is this? I felt like the whole school was against me. I felt like I didn't belong.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, so if I know it's not me, how do I prove that it's not me? Well, I have to prove that it's someone else. So I went through that anonymous account's Twitter and I looked at all the topics and I had a spreadsheet with when they tweeted. I was like CIA mode. And I found out that it was one of my friends.
Whoa.
And I told the entire school. I said, this isn't me. This is one of my friends. And look at this spreadsheet. And he shoved me into a locker.
Whoa.
And this is a big kid. And I was probably 140 pounds, 5'11". And I was skinny. And he shoved me into a locker and I couldn't do anything about it. And I got so angry. I got so angry that I started lifting weights. And when I started lifting weights, it channeled my anger. I put on 20 pounds of muscle in 6 months and I was a different human being. And I was able to really understand, okay, I feel angry at this person, but really what I feel angry about is that I can't defend myself. So let me fix that. And so often we feel angry because the circumstances feel outside of our control. And sometimes we can change them and sometimes we can't. Right? So in this case, I chose to change it. I could have gone to martial arts. I chose weightlifting, and I became a lot more at peace.
Got it. So did you want to fight him, or did you resolve that?
No, I didn't really want to fight him. I really wanted to fight myself.
Wow.
Fight myself because I wanted to be able to defend myself. I wanted to be able to be stronger. And that was really the first moment where I took responsibility for my body. So
I thought my high school was the only one that had one of those pages, man.
it probably is a thing that kids do.
It's ruthless.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You never wanted to be on that page.
Yeah.
Gossip is a big thing in high school.
You had one of those pages in your high
yeah.
school too?
Yeah, I was on there a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the gossip. People loved gossiping in high school.
Yeah, man. And I think it's something that some people never grow out of. And I know I was talking to someone who's in their early 30s yesterday, and he was telling me in his group chat, in his early 30s, there are people who are sending posts from other people who they went to high school with and being like, wow, this is so cringe. And it's content that someone's posting as a comedian. It's like, that person's in their early 30s making fun of somebody they went to high school with. And it never ends.
Yeah.
But how do you stop it? You supersede it. You really find enough safety within yourself that it doesn't matter if you see somebody making fun of you.
Right.
Right? I'm sure the first episode you posted of this podcast or the first piece of content you posted, there could have been some insecurity. What if this goes in my group chat?
100%. That's why I held off for years, to be honest.
Yeah,
I was scared of that scrutiny.
And that's why most people do. And then you do it 100 times. You do it 200 times. You get a big guest on. You're like, I don't care.
Right.
It starts to become something that you don't care about because you find enough validation in yourself and your craft that it doesn't matter.
I don't care at all. I'll post whatever these days.
Right. And you've become kind of, you're able to do it because you've done it enough times and you've superseded that thing in yourself. And I hope that everybody gets to that point of feeling so secure in themselves that they could post whatever they want on social media, that they could put a camera on their face and just start speaking, because in that moment, you're not worried about anyone else's truth being more important than your own.
Right. Well, it seems like these days the tides are turning and the truth is winning.
Yeah.
The top content creators are all really truthful, from what I'm seeing at least.
I feel that as well. I think people, what has happened is, if the world of influencers, of living a lifestyle that's so luxurious that it's outside of oneself, and what that happened in the 2010s, and what feels like in 2020s, the 2020s is an era of more realness, vulnerability, truthfulness, saying what you actually feel, because people are craving authenticity. People are craving the feeling of connection, which we always have, but it's come back to us.
Yep. And a great example of that is Dan Bilzerian right now, actually. I don't know if you've seen his recent podcast.
No, what's happened with him?
He's speaking his truth finally, but like you said, in the 2010s, he was partying, hooking up with all these girls, and just this fake lifestyle that no one could achieve. And that's how he blew up. But now he's making a resurgence with just speaking the truth.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised, because you have to in today's day and age, because no one's going to take you seriously if you're creating an image.
People could sense BS.
Yes. People are getting better at that.
Very good. I mean, liberating, that was a big fallout. And yeah, you really can't hide the truth for longer than a few months these days.
And it's because the real will always find its way to the light. Always.
Yeah. So stopping podcasting, I mean, that must have been a really tough decision for you.
It wasn't.
Really?
Because I follow the truth of what goes on inside. And what goes on inside is more important to me than the outside perception. People come up to me and they say, oh, I listen to your podcast, and I really do appreciate that. And also I know that there's a greater expression of me waiting to come out. There's more truthfulness. When you do a podcast, you are, in some sense, at least the way that I did the podcast, I was kind of hiding behind the guest. I was asking questions. I didn't have to give my perspective, my input, my 2 cents.
Right.
I obviously did a lot, but I was there for the guest. I was there to make the guest shine because I didn't value myself high enough. And it's only upon stepping back do I realize this and really seeing, oh, I was making myself small. And so, yeah, it wasn't a difficult decision because it just feels natural. And I can go back to the podcast anytime. I said I put it on pause. That's the thing. We can experiment. We can change. By the time this podcast comes out, I might be doing the podcast again. Right? So I'm not too attached to anything.
I love it. You're fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people get so locked into stuff.
Yeah. And I think it becomes your identity, right? It can become your identity. You do something hundreds of times. People start knowing you for that thing.
Yep.
And now, okay, if they know me as that thing, then I got to be that thing. But is that true?
That's deep. That's deep. For coaching, what type of coaching do you specialize in?
Mental performance coaching to help people feel more love and freedom in their own life.
That's huge, right? Especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs and creators and people. I mean, I feel so blessed to work with the clients that I do because they're genuinely people who are making change in the world and they're feeling like something is wrong, something is missing. Why am I making all this money and it's not feeling like I thought it would? Right?
Yeah.
And it's something that you constantly have to ask, what are my triggers? Right? You interview 8 people in a day. You're going to be triggered by some stuff that someone says or some stuff that occurs in the day. It's like, I can't believe this person showed up late. Okay, well, maybe that's the place to focus on. That's the area where you're not free. And maybe you're just mad at yourself for the times that you showed up late. So that's what I help people work on. And it's a never-ending process. They're like meditations when I work with a client. It's like a meditation where I'm asking questions to them to help them learn where they're not free and where they're not giving love to themselves and or others, which is inevitably keeping their business small.
Right. Yeah, I saw you say on another show, breath work and meditation really changed your life.
Yeah, meditation for sure. Breath work, I'm really starting to get into now and learning about more. But meditation, sitting with the truth of who I am, I mean, you can't hide from yourself.
Right.
Right? The truth will come up. The truth will come up if you just sit there in silence. And our world is constantly trying to get our attention. Our world, the way we've set it up in the Western world is this podcast wants your attention, this clip, this moment, this person is screaming at you, your friends are calling, your friends are blowing up your group chat. You could have notifications from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. And where's the time for you to listen to yourself? Your attention is valuable. Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk know that. That's why they're trying to get it. But can you give it to yourself?
Yep. Yeah, you got to be very cognizant of it. I disabled views, or I disabled likes. Took that from Lex Friedman. And I disabled notifications too on my phone.
Yeah, that's huge. To give back the mental space for yourself. And then a fear could arise of like, what if I miss something? What if I'm not right there? What if I can't get that thing that happens at that moment in time and I miss it? Right?
Yeah.
And that's also worth looking at.
It is. Yeah. I used to think about that stuff, but I'm in a good spot now, I'd say.
Yeah?
My phone doesn't control me.
What has led to that?
Just honestly seeing my screen time.
What's your screen time at these days?
Well, right now it's 8 hours, but I'm working. So I'd say maybe 30 minutes of that is leisure.
Yeah.
I'm working the other 7 hours, but it used to be even higher.
Well, and I also think like everyone's got to figure it out for themselves and not to make themselves feel bad for screen time. Right? Everyone will tell you shouldn't be on your phone that long. You shouldn't. But also, like, what if you should? Right? What if it is what you're choosing in that moment in life? And people are every time I mention screen time, every time someone mentions it, it is almost like I'm embarrassed to say this. That's the energy when you could talk to somebody from any age. I'm embarrassed to say my screen time is this high.
Yeah.
But what if you just owned the truth of what you did? Right? It changes the energy. My screen time is 8 hours. The energy is different than, like I'm working for 8 hours and like there's a difference there.
100%.
You feel that?
Yeah, no, for sure. Plus, you should look at the individual app breakdown of that.
Right.
So if you're actually being productive for those 8 hours, then why should you be ashamed of it?
Exactly. And it's because society has shamed people for being on their phone, but they're trying to get you on the phone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Paradox.
if I'm going to do it, I'm going to own the fact that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Not be scared to admit the truth of what I am.
Mm-hmm. What's yours?
I think it's 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Or 4
That's
hours.
the lowest I've heard for someone our age.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks. I mean, I don't view it as it's nothing. Like if it was 8 hours, it would be 8 hours. I just do what is appropriate for my own mind.
Right.
I just check in with myself. Like, am I good? Did I scroll through Instagram enough today? Do I know what's going on with my friends? Do I know what's going on with the people I love and care about? Do I know what's like, okay, I did. I'm good. And that's what meditation helps you do. Be aware when you are overindulging.
Have you seen this dopamine detox trend?
Yeah,
Raw
man.
dogging a flight.
That's been huge. That's been huge.
Do you think you could raw dog a coast to coast flight right now?
Oh, easily.
Really? Cali to LA?
I could
or
do it.
Cali to New York?
Brother, I could do it around the world. I mean, I spend 5 days not with no phone, no laptop, completely just with a bunch of journal entries and meditating.
Wow. And
Yeah.
you didn't feel the need to
No.
go back to your phone?
Well, what's happened is I built it up, right? So I started meditating 20 minutes a day in September of 2019. By May of 2020, I started meditating 60 minutes a day. Then I started meditating 60 minutes in the morning and 60 minutes in the evening.
Wow.
And then I started to just go 5 days and just in the middle of nowhere and have no phone, no laptop, no anything, just to learn more about myself.
Damn. So you're really into meditating.
Yes, because your attention is valuable. And there's more inside of you that you are unaware of that is shaping your reality currently. And so I realized that the more I devote to this, the more power I gain.
Right. So you're spending years perfecting the meditation. There's a lot of people that want to skip that, take psychedelic trip in Mexico. What do you think about that?
That's a great question. I have no judgment. You know, if somebody feels more called to do that, God bless them, right? If somebody feels more called to meditate, God bless them. If somebody feels like they want to go to ayahuasca ceremony, God bless them. Like there are many ways to heal and grow and become a more evolved person. And so whatever you feel in your heart works for you, I'm all for.
I feel that. Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs I noticed are doing those journeys lately.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I feel the consciousness of the planet is evolving.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I really do. I feel like people are becoming more loving. If you just think, there's also the argument to be made, well, people are becoming more hateful. Yeah, that's true also. But what is happening is more and more people are getting exposed and the truth is coming out. And when the truth comes out, love emerges over a long enough time frame. There might be some hate in the beginning because you're looking at the truth and being like, I don't like that truth that we've been living with. But from my understanding, we've become a more loving society.
And you're seeing that on Twitter right now. There's a ton of hate because there's a lot of these new truths being pushed for once because it's not censored. Are you seeing all these tweets right now about Israel and stuff?
No.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, I'm of the perspective that I'm going to remove the things that I can't control from my life. So politics, news, war, all of it, I remove.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't pay any attention?
Zero.
So what about if certain people become president?
I mean, it filters its way in, but I've blocked Kamala Harris. I've blocked Donald Trump. I've blocked it all of it. And I still see it. Like it still comes into my consciousness and I'm better off the less I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because how I view my life is my mission is to increase the amount of love that I have for myself so I can give more love to the world around me. And in this season of my life, learning about politics is not something that I can control enough to make an impact on the amount of love. That's not increasing the amount of love. That's, to me, increasing the amount of division in my own mind and heart and soul. And thus, I'm getting more divided.
It's a very divisive topic for most people. Same with religion.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that I'm going to ignore the topic forever, but I am saying in this season of my life, when I'm 29 years young and I'm building up love and power and truth within myself, it's important for me to focus.
Right. So you're just trying to give love right now.
Yes. To myself and the world around me.
Is that because of karma or you just genuinely feel like you want to spread it?
It's because I know how it feels to have insecurities. I know how it feels to not like myself. I know how it feels to put others down. And I know how it feels to live in love. And I know how it feels to be good with me 100%. I just want to make other people feel good, man, because I feel good.
Wow. That's deep, dude. But that's needed. There's a lot of mental health issues right now.
Yeah. And it's more and more people becoming more loving and more people becoming more depressed at the same time.
Wonder why that is.
Because information is spreading. So if you have people who are interested in learning how to be loving, now you could look at my Twitter and you could find books that I've read and be like, okay, I'm going to read those too. And that information has spread faster. And also the information of people being upset with life and being depressed and being down and being cynical, that is also spread faster. So both are spreading faster.
Right. It's like the internet amplified both lanes.
Correct.
It's kind of almost what you pay attention to then.
That's right. And that's why I don't pay attention to the news.
Right. Yeah, you got to curate your feed.
Yeah. Because I know that what I'm paying attention to is creating my reality. 100%. What you pay attention to is controlling your reality. And so I'm going to pay attention to loving, positive, light, kind thoughts. I'm not going to ignore the negative within myself, the insecurities within myself, the darkness within myself. I'm not ignoring it. I'm going to integrate it, but I'm not going to focus on the darkness outside of myself.
Right. Because if you ignore it too long, it will manifest in a form of disease or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
I believe in that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You see people with deep traumas that never address it and then they get sick.
Correct. It's not about ignoring it. It's about working its way through you.
Love it, dude. I do want to talk about one of your interviews.
Please.
Because you did it on top of a mountain.
Yes, with Dan Coe.
Dan Coe, that is legendary.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Was it planned?
Yeah, I planned it. Shout out to my friend Andy White, great PR woman. We just had this idea to do a podcast on a mountain. It was her idea. And I was like, that's never been done before. And I love that idea and let's do it. And so we went up there at sunset and there's probably like 200 people in the audience. They're not there for us, but we're podcasting on the mountain and 200 people are just there.
Yeah.
And we were just locked in and focused.
Yeah.
And it was a cool experience. Have you ever done a podcast on a pyramid or like on some?
No. So as a host, I'm constantly thinking of new ideas, and everyone and their mother has a podcast these days.
Yes.
At a table. So I'm thinking of like what could be kind of interactive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's hard to set up the logistics of the camera crew and everything.
Yeah. It's worth it though, in the sense of it was just a fun experience. And that's kind of another reason why I've stopped podcasting is because I don't want to do the same thing everyone else does.
Right.
And I feel if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be more authentic to the truth of who I am. So
yeah, one of my goals maybe next year is I want to start going to tribes, interviewing locals of tribes.
I love
showing
that.
their culture to the world that's unseen.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my next goal.
Do you have any specific tribes that you're
Not yet. I'm
looking
still
at?
preliminary, but that's something I feel like getting their messaging and culture out to the world could be impactful. So
Absolutely. I think if you're trying to have a podcast to succeed in 2024, it's how can you tell a story that no one else can tell?
right.
And so a podcast on top of a mountain is a story that no one else has told. A podcast with a tribe who doesn't get a message out often is a story most people haven't heard.
Exactly. And as you know, people run through the circuit. So it's the same 10, 20 guests on the same 10, 20 shows. So you got to spice it up, put them in a different environment.
Yeah, and bring new stories into the forefront and into the fold. And it's great that you're thinking that way because you do enough of these podcasts, you're like...
You start seeing the same messaging over and over. That's why I kind of got out of the business lane because it was the same story.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's, as creators, we're looking for something different. We're looking for the edge. We're looking for what's the place that is real to me and also most people haven't gone yet.
Right. And that's where I feel like you crushed it because you were asking questions no one would ever think of.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I spent a lot of time doing research, right? I spent a lot of time learning about the guests. You said you listened to 3 podcasts a day. I was doing the same thing when I was having a guest on. I would listen to them on 3 different shows, take notes on the most random things that I could they mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I really prepared. I really treated it like the real craft that it is. And I bring that same thing to coaching, where I'm trying to ask questions that the client has never heard before. And that is making them think of the world in a different way.
Wow, that's powerful. Because a lot of coaches probably just follow a script.
Yeah, I don't know what most coaches do. I just do me, right?
Yeah.
And I just focus on myself, and I just focus on how can I bring the most love and freedom to this person.
Right.
And how can I teach them something about themselves that when they leave, they'll be better off for knowing. For example, like you with belonging, right? You can now think to yourself, okay, if I really want whatever I do to be successful, how can I make belonging a part of it? And I don't know how that looks for you. You have to sit with it yourself. But if you can make people feel belonged, you're going to enjoy that process even more.
Yeah. No, what you said makes so much sense because I also host events, like networking events, and I just love connecting people. I always have.
Yeah, because you felt like you didn't belong. And that is an amazing nugget that you can take in your brain to the next thing that you do.
Right.
Even though you already know, I love bringing people together. I love connecting people. I love talking to people. There's like another layer deeper. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's huge. When you got into coaching, was there any coaches you studied or did you kind of just carve your own lane?
So I knew coaching was in my path for two reasons. One is because when they came on the podcast, I was most nervous to talk to coaches. So that's a good tell for where you see yourself. It's like, who are you most nervous to talk to if they were in front of you?
Right.
The second is I judge coaches. Us coaching, that's a scam. What do you mean? Like you don't get a degree? That is such a scam. And so I had both of these judgment. I had a nervousness to talk to them and a judgment of them. And both of them told me there was something there for me. And so people like Peter Crone, I love. Peter Crone is amazing. You should try to get him on this show. He's incredible mind. And people like John Gordon, there's a whole host, Ed Milet, right? People who are going to professional athletes, helping them out, helping them learn about themselves, improving their performance. Like I love those people so much.
I feel like when the clients are happy, it's such a good business to be in because the fulfillment level must be amazing.
Yes, you feel so much lighter when you see somebody become lighter.
Right. Yeah, I've heard it compared to having kids, actually.
I could totally see that. I could totally see that because one of my dreams one day is to be a father.
Oh, yeah?
And it's really important to me, and I'm so excited, hopefully one day, to be a father. And I'm coaching people, and I'm like, this is the same thing.
Yeah. I love that, dude. 29, so you're getting to that age, actually.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows what time has in store for me? But guidance is the thing. Emotional guidance is the thing that I felt like I lacked as a child. And so I really want to just give that to other people. And when I'm giving that to other people, I'm feeling good.
Right. Why do you think you lacked that growing up?
Just circumstances, and it was probably something to do with my own deal pattern that I created growing up. I didn't want anyone's help. I didn't want to go to people, but when I went to a therapist, I always felt better. So it was one of those things where I didn't get the tools of meditation growing up. I didn't get the tools of doing yoga or breath work. And I wish somebody would have shown me that because I have so much energy and so much emotion and waiting to be expressed, waiting to be explored. And if I don't have guidance for that, it just, when I was younger, it would get expressed in temper tantrums and just being upset with life.
That happened to me too. I feel like as a guy, it's like you don't want to be seen as too emotional, you know?
Now, yeah, I mean, I think that's starting to change, and I hope to be part of the shift.
Right.
Because to show your emotions is actually the strongest thing you can do. Because that's actually being seen at a deep level. It's very easy to put on a front like nothing affects me, nothing impacts me, and I'm stoic.
Yeah.
But it's not truthful. It's not real. If somebody cuts you off in traffic or somebody hurts you in some real way, it's the realest thing is that really hurt me. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be crying about it, but that does mean admitting the truth of how it felt to you. And if men can become stronger in that area, we'll have stronger men in general.
Yeah, we need to change that. I wonder how that shift started in the first place.
I think it started because there was not access to information, access to the truth. There was access to the movies and what they put on a pedestal. I mean, when I was growing up, it was drinking beers was the coolest thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
That's different than today. But it was a masculine thing to drink beers.
Right. Smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. And I think these things get put in films and movies, and then it gets kind of brought to people in general.
Yeah, they've done well with programming people through the media, man. Through movies, television, news.
Yeah.
Subconsciously programming ideas.
Yes. And my push to people is, let's start programming ourselves in the way that we want. Let's start programming ourselves with love. Let's start programming ourselves with connecting with others and being growth minded.
Right.
Imagine if it was the coolest thing in the world to work on your emotions. Imagine if it was the coolest thing in the world to meditate. Imagine if meditating was the same thing, meditating and praying was a Friday and Saturday night activity.
Absolutely.
How different would our culture be if that was the cool things to do?
Bro, if you and I told our high school friends we were meditating when we got home from school, we'd get ridiculed.
Right. Roasted. And that is kind of sad, because that's actually making you a better human being.
Right.
And drinking and partying was for one season of my life, it was fun, but it was actually hurting me and hurting the people around me
Absolutely.
and forcing me to make decisions that I wouldn't look back on and be saying I would make that decision today with a clear head.
Yeah, I went through that partying phase in college and high school. I think a lot of guys do, and girls.
Yeah. And I think it's because of how it's viewed as cool, as a cool thing to do.
Right. Yeah, if you're not doing it, you don't fit in.
Right. You don't belong.
Yeah, full circle. Full circle moment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's a tough battle, man. Wanting to fit in.
Yes. And you solve it by fitting in within yourself. And how do you fit in yourself? You fully accept the truth of who you are. You fully accept every place that you don't accept about yourself. If you're like, I don't like that I have glasses, it's like really sitting with, I love that I have glasses. And it could be a list of 100 different things.
Right.
But going to the place that you don't belong within yourself and changing that belief is the key for you to actually belonging.
Dude, everything you're saying is hitting, because I pushed off getting glasses for years.
Wow.
Because people said people with glasses were ugly. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would literally couldn't see in class because I was trying to fit in.
Wow.
That's the extent of what I would go to.
It's real. This is so real. And the fact that you do have glasses now says, I accept the truth of who I am in a deeper way than I did when I was younger.
Right.
And if you can go through every area of your life and say, where don't I feel like I belong? Because those are the areas that are holding you back right now.
Yep. And I feel like a lot of women go through this with beauty products, with birth control. Like, it's tough on them. The suicide rate for young teenage women is at an all-time high right now.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that.
Social media, I think, plays a role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. The feeling of belonging is really important to humans. And to find it within ourselves is even more important right now.
Absolutely. We got a really young audience, man. What's your advice for them watching this show right now?
The people in high school, the people in college, the people in middle school maybe, I know that situation right now feels like the most important thing. I know when I got shoved into a locker, it felt like the most important thing and my world was crumbling because I looked weak to the 399 other people in my high school. The truth is, with years of reflection, that was just one moment in a story. And I think for young people, having perspective of just because I'm insecure about this thing and I'm getting made fun of for this thing, that doesn't mean your world is ending. That's just one moment in time, and to zoom out and to know that nobody cares about your grades. Nobody is checking on who you're friends with. And if you can see that full perspective in middle school, in high school, in college, in the first few years of graduating, you can have a lot more peace in your day-to-day life.
That's so powerful, dude. I used to think the world was ending when I got a bad grade.
That's right. That's right. And none of it matters.
Yeah.
Like it, and to give your best effort. Giving your best effort definitely matters. Like, always give your best effort, but also know it doesn't actually impact your day-to-day life when you're 29, when you're 39, when you're 59. It will all drop. And it seems so important now. And give your full effort to what seems important but also realize there's a greater perspective out there that it's all good.
For sure. Danny, where can people find you, your coaching, and your show, man?
At Hey Danny Miranda on Twitter and Instagram, and the Danny Miranda podcast, wherever you listen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks for watching, guys, as always. See you next time.